Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how
He's alive!
Welcome to Where the Weird Ones Are.
Every time I speak, I want the truth to come out.
Powerful figures in Hollywood as well as powerful politicians who are in fact not human. They're reptiles or they're lizards or perhaps extraterrestrials.
I don't think it is a human. I think it's a Sasquatch.
Go ahead and run. Run home and cry to mama.
Let's get weird.
What's up, you fucking weirdos? Welcome to another episode of Where the Weird Ones Are. My name is Kevin, but you probably already knew that, and if you didn't, well, now you do. And knowing's half the battle. So, today's episode is with Miss Zoey Quinn, and I cannot tell you enough. I absolutely adore this lady. She is super friendly, super nice. So please show her some love, whether you interact with her or not, or just you're listening to this episode. She's been through a lot, and she is on a journey and walking a path of enlightenment. And I really connect with her. We've been talking a lot on Instagram and stuff, so I really appreciate her for taking the time to come on. She's been a guest on other shows. I believe she said Uncomfortable and Tommy Cullum's Let's Get Freaky. So if you enjoy this episode, please go show some love to those podcasts as well. Whether it be her episode or just their latest episodes. Obviously, you guys all know that Tommy Cullum is a good friend of ours. So whenever you get any kind of a chance to show him some love, please do so. That being said, today's a good day. I'm super happy. I hope you are as well. I hope you all are all doing very well. And real quick, I just want to share with you that I did open an Etsy store. I do have a lot of different t-shirt designs and stuff, so if you're interested, please check it out. If you're not, that's fine too. It's not the end of the world if you don't buy my shit. So but I did work really hard on it, and I do pay to have it. So the t-shirt designs are from the fine art medium. So if you are interested in your own kind of merch or doing your own kind of designs of any kind for whatever reason, please reach out to the fine art medium. Her name is Emily. She's a lovely woman. So yeah. Also, I am almost done writing my comic, so she should have it, and she should be illustrating it here very shortly. So I'm hoping, like I've said before, to have it done by Halloween. I would like to have it produced by Halloween, so I gotta get cracking, you know what I'm saying? So, anyways, please, if you enjoy this episode, please say something. Zoey is has become a really good friend, and I hope you guys all show her some love, like I've already said 7 fucking times, or however many times I've said it. But she is very lovely, and I just can't tell you enough about her. So just listen to this episode, and you'll probably come to love her as well. So Zoey, if you're listening, I hope Hawaii is treating you well, and I hope you and your girlfriend are having a blast. I hope you are having the time of your life down there. And memories, making memories. So, anyways, have a good day, have a good night whenever you're listening to this, and remember, stay weird.
Coming to get you, Barbara.
Let's get weird. Let's get weird. Let's get weird. Let's get weird. Weird, get weird.
So, how long have you and your girlfriend been together now?
It's been like 8 months.
8 months?
Yeah.
Nice. Congratulations. Still
Thanks.
young relationship.
Yeah, definitely. But it's good. She's, loving my life. So
You guys look happy on Instagram, so that's cool.
yeah, thank you. We are. We definitely are. That's for sure.
Good.
Yeah.
So fuck, I had a question before I hit record that I was specifically going to ask you, but I forgot because we were, so for everybody listening or watching, we kind of like we're having a little bit of a discussion beforehand, which I do anyway with everybody, but I just hit record because I was like, I don't want to fucking miss anything. Shit. And I had all right, so I think it had something to do with, so we were discussing politics, and I think it had something to do with that. So I'm just gonna ask. So Zoey said that she was never like any like one side or the other, which I feel like most of my life I haven't really been one side or other. And I'm not trying to make a political thing because I know we're fucking all probably extremely sick and tired of listening to people talk about politics. But
Yeah.
I just wanted to, so what was your perspective? So when she was saying when she met her girlfriend, her girlfriend's not really like right, but she kind of like opened her eyes from a different standpoint other than a liberal standpoint. And I had this really, really long discussion with Bobby Shu. If anybody had listened to that episode, which was 43, about how he was like a diehard liberal, and then he's completely flip-flopped. Now he's 100% conservative. So I guess what my question is, in a roundabout way with a mouthful of words, what would you say kind of want to get, like in politics, what would you want to get rid of?
Oh shit. Okay. Well, okay. So like you said, like I'm not somebody who I'm not here to pick sides, and I'm not here to make a political statement. I don't necessarily go out and do research, but if I'm gonna form an opinion, I'm gonna go do that research. But that said, obviously we all can have an opinion on shit. So what I would get rid of is, I mean, politics itself. Is that possible?
That would be dope. I like that. That's a good answer. That's what I've always been. That's what I've been saying for a while. Is I think that we should just get rid of the government.
I mean, yeah. It's just it's kind of like you ever have a job, and then your manager leaves for a week or a couple weeks or something, they go on vacation and like nothing changes,
Yeah.
right? Everybody knows their job. I mean, some jobs maybe they're kind of idiots or too young or whatever, but like for the most part, like I think they even made fun of this in like in that show The Office, where it's just like you don't need a manager, right? You don't need somebody telling you what the fuck to do. Like you're an adult, you're here to do your job. Like, boom, we all know what to do. I get not everybody's like that, but for the
Right.
most part, I think like you can trust people to just get shit done. And like a lot of times, like the coworkers are going to check each other because like, hey, we're all here to work together.
Mhm.
So like using that analogy, I would say that like I would say it's like we don't need that manager, right? I mean, we definitely, I don't know, it's like obviously probably we need a military and all that stuff because like we have like foreign quote unquote adversaries, but I don't know enough about that to discuss that. So I guess in general, it's just like, there's both sides are kind of like just playing this game, you
Yeah.
know?
Mhm.
And right now, like one is kind of being more ridiculous than the other, you
Yeah.
know? And like you said, like being from California, like there's a majority narrative that's kind of like skewed towards you. So you think that, oh, everybody over here thinks this one way, when really like most people all kind of agree on the same shit. So
Yes.
like, that's kind of like a generalized way to answer that question. Like I said, like it's hard for me to be like, oh, take out like this one thing because I don't know. Like I'm
I,
not,
yeah, I got you. I got you.
yeah.
Yeah. And I was gonna say another thing. Dude, my ADHD is fucking killing me tonight. Holy shit.
You're good.
Um
That's what I'm here for.
so I would think just because I know that they what they do basically is they just sit there and they pass bills and laws and stuff. Like I feel like we don't really need them to sit here and continuously try and pass laws. But this is what I wanted to tell you. Did you know that technically we're not supposed to be a democracy? We're not
Right. We're like a republic, right?
Yeah, we're a
Like,
constitutional republic, and we're not supposed to only have two parties, which we don't. We have the Green Party, we have Libertarian, which I kind of like those both. Actually, I like both of them. Like I like the Green Party and I like Libertarian. I would, I feel like because I've been kind of like, so I was like you, where didn't really care, I didn't really pay attention, and then when I did, um I was like, I think I'm conservative, like with my
yeah.
core values and stuff like that. But now I think I might be libertarian, where I'm like, fuck the government, leave me alone. I'm gonna live in the woods, off the grid,
Yeah.
you know, and stuff like that. But the Green Party has some good. I haven't really completely looked into it, but a lot of their stuff, a lot of their values and beliefs and stuff are pretty cool. But we never hear from. They're always on the ballads, but we never hear anything about them, and it's so saturated in its own only Republican and Democrats that we hear from. And it's funny because they switch sides. Like
Right.
it flip flops throughout history. If you ever get the inkling, which I'm not telling you, you should go look this up.
Yeah.
But if you ever like are like happen to pay attention, like sometimes it, I'm not. They take turns playing the bad guy, kind of thing.
Right. Right. Which,
So
yeah, no, I could see that because I mean, I would say like for me, like I just like I said before, it was like I think everyone should just be respectful to one another.
mhm.
So if that's like if I need to respect you, it, basically like let's just like respect like our rights and like what we have, right? So like okay, America was like founded on like excuse me, this revolution, right? Where we came from this like tyrannical kingdom.
Mm.
But there was like literally like a king and a queen and these people and they want to tax you on everything because they own everything. It's an empire, right? So we kind of came from that where we're like, yeah, we're gonna like keep our guns because that's how we defended ourselves, and we're gonna keep that, you know, going. But we're also, and like, but your property is like your property. And obviously, like the whole slave thing is like definitely not okay because that's like disrespectful. So that enters into the whole respect thing.
Yeah.
But like, so yeah, people shouldn't be property, just to be clear. But like when you own
Except
something
for
like,
women.
oh, totally.
That was a joke. That was a joke. I'm sorry.
Yes, that was a joke.
Sorry, I didn't
I
mean
mean,
to,
don't threaten me with a good time, like.
I wish I had one of those buttons that went.
Yeah. No, for sure. And that's what I mean. Like, you should be able to just joke around, and like, I feel like you and I probably agree on like honestly, probably most things.
Yeah.
And even if we didn't, it's like, who cares? Like, that's
Right.
not gonna, oh, now you don't agree with this one thing. Like, I'm not gonna be your friend anymore. Like, what? That doesn't make any sense.
I've seen that happen in the last 2 years a lot, actually, which is really strange. And people that have been friends for like ever, which I know there's no like stipulation on just because you've been friends for so long doesn't mean you're supposed to like continue to be friends forever. But
Right.
but to stop being friends with somebody because of their what they believe in or whatever, even though you've been tight for so
Yeah.
long. But I don't know. It's
I
it's all
mean,
dumb.
no, and that's the thing. It's like, where like you're entitled, quote unquote, like to your opinion. Like you should be allowed, like, yeah, you have an opinion, right?
Right.
But your opinion can change. Like I might be like, okay, well, obviously Tobey Maguire is the best Spider-Man. And then you're gonna be like, oh, it's definitely Andrew Garfield or it's Tom Holland, right? Like, and then what, we're gonna stop being friends over that? Like, that's basically what people are doing.
That's pretty much. I actually have a hilarious story that makes me laugh every time, which I can like quote. I'm not quote, but like compare it to this kind of situation. I didn't stop being friends with this kid, but we still talk occasionally. But in high school, me and my ex-girlfriend, my high school girlfriend, were over his house and we were watching a movie, right? And I can't remember what movie it was, but um it was showing like all these black guys with dreads and like the Rastafarian hats and stuff.
Yeah.
And right on the bottom it goes Haiti 1978 or something like that. And it just is like it's the beginning scenes where they just show like different like scenes of like a city or whatever. And that's basically
Mhm.
what they were doing. And they were showing all these like groups of guys. They're like standing on the side of the street smoking a cigarette, but they like have dreads and stuff like that. And he goes, "Oh, they're in Jamaica." And I go, "No, they're in Haiti." And he goes, "No, that's fucking Jamaica. Do you see what the fuck that they have dreads and the freaking Rasta hats?" And I go, "And right at the beginning of the movie, it said Haiti, 1978." And he goes, "They're in fucking Jamaica." And I was like, "Dude, the movie literally told us where they were in the first 5 seconds." I was like, "They are in Haiti." And of course, this was in the days of freaking, you didn't have like TiVo or whatever, or Xfinity and all where you could rewind the TV,
Yeah.
so we couldn't rewind it to figure it to show him. And he fucking kicked me out of his house because I fucking disagreed with him. And technically I was right, but I mean, I wasn't gonna sit there and argue. He was just like, he stood up and he goes, "Get the fuck out of my house." I was like, okay. I
Right.
mean,
Like,
this is not
all
worth
right.
fucking like fighting over. I was just telling you. But so that's basically what people are doing now.
Right.
Like, they're so attached
100%.
to they're so attached to their politics.
Yeah. Well, and like that's the thing, right? Where it should be like, it's like it's almost like I want you to change my opinion. Like I should be, in that situation, I could be like, oh, they're in Jamaica, and you're like, they're in Haiti. I'm like, okay, like show me. Obviously, you couldn't go back then, but
Right.
like you should be able to like, oh, you go back, like, oh shit, I was wrong. Like,
Yeah.
okay, cool.
I've been
Now I
proven
know.
wrong. I've been proven wrong so plenty of times. And sometimes I get like, yeah, I mean, I'm like, fuck, shit. I get mad that I'm wrong, but at the
Right.
end of the day, I learned something new.
Especially when you like really commit to it and you're like, "No, I know this." Like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I remember so many instances of that, and then I just have to do like this fucking like walk of shame where I'm just like, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was
But that's
wrong.
good, right? It's like
Yeah.
that's you should be able to do that, you know. And
Yeah.
I guess the thing is, it's like when it comes to like people passing bills that are going to affect your everyday life, like
Yeah.
that's when people get like crazy about it, right? And the thing is like then that narrative gets skewed that it's about one thing when really it's about another, and it's always like, crossed over.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, like we should, I don't know. I just feel like we should be able to take care of ourselves and do what we want. Like if I wanted to like it's kind of extreme, but like if I wanted to go shoot up heroin, then that's what I'm gonna fucking do. I shouldn't get arrested for that. Now if I go shoot up heroin and kill somebody, well now I should get arrested for murder, but not for heroin. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like that's like an extreme example, but like
No, I get it. I get it.
I don't do heroin, everybody. So everyone
I
knows.
seen her do heroin. I was just at her house the other day, and she was just like, "Hey, you want to?" And I was just like, "Nah, man."
Hey, he flew all the way over here to Chicago and we did
just
heroin together.
just to watch her do hair.
Don't lie, you did a little bit. You did a little bit. Oh shit, ridiculous.
So, what started you? So, how long have you been hitting the gym?
Uh, I started when I was probably like either 16 or 18.
Yeah.
Because my dad started bringing me.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, just to like, get me fit or something. And he was always in like really good shape. And then like as he got older, like he got the beer gut and all that. But so like he like kind of taught me how to like work out and stuff. So I did that for a while and then like I kind of stopped and then just hid in my room for many years playing video games. And then but I always was like I'm tall, so like and I have a fast metabolism, so I was always like thin
Yeah.
and I'd plump up here and there, but for the, maybe a couple pounds, like 10 pounds, like winter time or something. But for the most part, I've always been like thin, which is very like I'm appreciative of. But now and then like probably like a few years ago, I started going again as I got older. I was like, I'm a very like, I think partly just like genetics and partly because like my dad like trained me from a young age. So like I'm like a little bit more broad, like in my shoulders and chest,
Yeah.
but I'm just like my mom, so I'm very like no hips. So I was trying so like I just wanted to like work out, try to build some hips because then I learned like, oh, those are just muscles. You can grow that, like, and so I tried doing that for a while and then I think I ended up having to move a bunch of times. I moved a lot throughout my life, but I had to
Yeah.
move and then I didn't get back into it as much. So then I kind of fell off and then COVID hit. And luckily I didn't really gain much weight or anything in COVID, but I just wasn't that active. I was like, I did take like, right before COVID, I was taking like longsword class, which was cool. So
Long sword?
yeah, so like I know how
Like
to fight with a
fencing?
sword. Like
Oh,
yeah,
you know.
like a long sword.
Oh, nice.
Like
That's dope.
yeah.
That's
It's
dope as
pretty
fuck.
cool.
That
I
comes
mean,
in
if you
handy for zombies.
oh yeah, yeah. And that's what I learned about it. It's all like form, so it's like really cool. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you don't know what you're doing, I don't care like how big of a guy. I mean, maybe yeah, you could definitely overpower me, but like I don't care. You can come at me with a sword, I'll probably kill you. So, but if you know what you're doing, then I'll probably lose immediately. So
That's hilarious.
it's a joke, but it's like it's just like, some
Right.
simple things you learn and then you realize like, oh, if you don't know what you're doing, like you're fucked. Like
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so I
yeah.
did a little bit of fight training, or well, like boxing and mixed martial arts. a little bit. Like I did wrestling in high school.
Okay.
Um, and then around like 18, I started going to this gym where they were just teaching you striking and all this stuff. And then ended up finding my way into like amateur fighting. And I know how to strike people. I know how to punch people in the jaw, but once you get
Right.
me on my back and stuff, I have no idea. Like so like when they're on top of me and we're like doing this like ground thing where I got to try and figure out moves to try and get them away from me or to trick them into like a submission or something. I can't do that shit for the life of me because I wasn't trained in it. You know what I
Right.
mean? So I ended up having 4 fights. I only lost one out of all of them. So luckily, most of the most I think most of the guys were kind of like on the same page as me, where they weren't like quite sure how to go about it. So most of my fights we stood up. So yeah. So if I was to get into a fight with somebody that actually no matter how strong I think I am, with somebody that knows what they're doing, I'm gonna lose.
Right. Right. I feel
So
the same way. Yeah.
that's
Like,
why
so,
you don't pick
yeah.
fights with random people because you don't know
Yeah.
what they know.
I'd rather just not fight anybody personally.
Ex-
I just
That
want to
is a good
be
way to be too.
peaceful. I mean, yeah, like I'm not gonna like give up or nothing. Like if somebody like if I'm forced into that situation, but yeah, no,
Right.
I'd rather just like, hey, let's just stop being mad and have a beer or something.
Please don't hit me. Here's a beer.
Yeah, I'd rather not do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, and then I was like fairly active, like especially like I love walking, like I'll go walk like really long distances and it's like kind of like whatever to me.
Hmm.
Um but then yeah, like after like through COVID it was just very like didn't work out. So I didn't, I like lost I feel like I lost a lot of progress on like my muscle growth, like with my hips and all that. And then
Hmm.
yeah, so and essentially I was like just looking for a job and I was like a gym would be a good place to work, a good
Yeah.
environment. So then I started working at the gym and I get paid now to work out. So
That's
yeah.
dope. That's dope.
Yeah, so it makes me feel better. I have like a lot of I've always had like a lot of like major like anxiety issues. So when I work out, it like really brings that down.
Same, man. Well, I didn't always have anxiety issues. I didn't start experiencing anxiety until I was with my recent ex.
Okay.
Um, like I don't know so she was really high like anxiety and stuff, and she had me to the point where like I would walk in the house and I would literally didn't know what to do with myself, and I would get like this like panic attack because I didn't want to piss her off
Okay.
and start a fight. So and then
Yeah.
that's when I started like really experience anxiety, but I also didn't realize because I have issues in crowds, so that's a form of anxiety,
Yep.
and I
Yep.
didn't know that until recently. And that was when I was while her and I were together, and I remember there was a few incidences where um I'd get weird when we were out, and she'd be
Well,
like,
we're
"What the?"
weird anyways. Sorry, keep
Yes,
going.
yes, we are.
Very weird. Anyways,
But
keep
she would
going.
just be like, "What the hell is wrong with you?" And I'd just be like, "I don't know. I just don't like. I can't take being around people.
Mhm.
I just and I would find myself like in a random spot, and like I met her dad for the first time and I didn't talk to her dad like the whole time. Like I didn't know what to say, and I just they bought the beer that I like and stuff, and so I just kind of like walked around and like drank a beer and didn't really talk to anybody except for my kids and stuff, like,
Right.
which was kind of like, I mean, from a dad's perspective, I'd probably been like, that guy's weird. I don't know
Right.
if I like that guy, but you know,
Yeah.
but yeah, the gym definitely helps me with like my depression and shit like that.
Hmm.
So I get in there and anger when I am, because I try to look at things in a positive light and not really like project my anger onto other people, because like you don't know what they're going through. They could be going through a whole bunch of shit too.
Right.
So and I'm not saying that I like to bottle my anger, but I know how to. I guess I use it in a different way,
Right.
or like find a different avenue to release it rather than blowing my fucking lid and screaming at somebody. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. No,
So.
I totally relate to that like completely. Like I grew up in, I mean, not terrible like conditions or anything, but definitely like very high anxiety conditions, and definitely picked up like an anger issue that I feel like I've much less anger now. Like I've got a lot more control of it.
Yeah.
And same with like depression, anxiety. And I think that depression, anxiety is still something that like I definitely deal with, but it's like I know how to manage it now. I know the tools to use like to manage it. But that said, it's like it's not always easy to maintain that level of like control, so
Mm,
it still like gets to me at times. And like the social anxiety too, like I'm very much like that. Like uh if I like once I'm like in a comfortable place, like you know or even at work, there's a ton of people at the gym, but like I know my coworkers and I know the environment, so
mhm.
I'm able to kind of open up and be like friendly. And but like I went to like a family thing with my girlfriend and her family and friends last weekend for like 4th of July weekend,
Yep.
and we were in this cabin, and it was a nice cabin, but it was like small, and I knew most everybody there, and actually I knew everybody. I'd met them at least once, and there's a couple people that I just didn't know as well. And so like the first day I was just like terrible anxiety. Like I was like, my girlfriend's like, "Are you mad? Are you mad?" I'm like, "No, I'm not mad. I just like, sorry, I got like gnat right there." But I was like, "I'm not mad. I just it's just like I'm overwhelmed and like I can't explain it."
Yeah.
Then I just, once I know like, okay, just breathe and like try to engage with somebody, and it kind of like opens you up. You got to kind of force your engagement a little bit, and then you realize like, okay, like they're just people, they're cool people, it's all good. Like, but something in the brain definitely goes off and tells you like, panic mode, like you
Yeah.
don't know what's going on. So I totally get that.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if you have ever listened to Lights at Midnight podcast at all, or
No,
if you.
I've not heard of that one.
All
I
right.
listen to a lot of podcasts, but not heard that one.
All right. So I was on their podcast, and we were talking about this same thing. Crowd social anxiety and all this stuff. And I've noticed, so I've only been to a handful of concerts in my life. Like I can count it on one hand how many
Okay.
times, but I have always wanted to go to concerts. I guess I'm just not like willing to like pay the money and go, because there's a point in time where I'm like all anxious, and then I'm
Yeah.
good for a really long time, and then at the end I get that anxiety back. So basically I so I'm like, I was telling them, I was like, it's weird because like I could be in the middle of a mosh pit, fucking jamming out, but as soon as the music stops, I'm fucking like, I get me the fuck out of here. Like I need to get out as fast as I can. You know what I
Totally.
mean? But when they're on stage and they're engaging with all of us and stuff like that, like I'm fine with everybody, like shoulder to shoulder, feel somebody breathing on the back of my neck, and I'm fine as long as the music's playing.
All
And
right.
it's the weirdest thing. So.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. So like I grew up going to concerts and being around live music. So like I couldn't count it on both of our hands, but but like so like my parents actually met at a Slayer concert. So
Nice.
yeah, so as I say, I don't exist in any timeline that Slayer doesn't exist. So uh, but yeah, my dad like always played music. He would play Slayer with his friends, and like so I grew up playing music, and then I'd be like around all these like musicians. So I like learned a little bit, And like I can go on stage and like, play music or like literally like rap or something like that. Like I don't sing very well, but I'll just fuck around. And then like I've done that, and then it's like I'm totally fine. Like, crowd of people, whatever. But then you're right, it's like as soon as you like get off or like leading up to that, it's like, oh my God, I'm freaking out. Like but I can get on the stage, like, okay, yeah, sure, no problem.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of like me, except I don't go on stage for any reason because I have no talent. So,
Oh.
but this podcast has helped me a lot with a lot of that, like the conversations with random people.
Hmm.
So, like my first episode where I had somebody that I didn't know, um, personally come on, I was so fucking nervous, and then
Right.
had to have her come on a second time because I fucked up the recording.
Oh, I remember you saying that. Yeah.
And I was so mad, and she was such a sweetheart about it and stuff like that, but I was just like fucking A. And then we talked, and I tried to recreate a lot of what we talked about because I felt like it was so good, the things that she had said. And I tried to
Right.
be like some of the things that she said about like ghosts and stuff. I was like, oh, even though I already heard the story, and I was still like, oh.
Right.
Whoa, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But
No, I get that. I mean, uh I definitely get that. Like you want to be able to capture like that moment, right? And then it's
yeah,
like on the one hand, it's like that was a good conversation, it was a good flow. So like the disappointment, right? But
for
then like
sure.
on the other hand, too, it's like you could think like, you know what, maybe that conversation was just for you guys. You
Maybe.
know,
Yeah.
maybe it's just that's how, it wasn't meant for everyone else. It was just meant for you and her and
Yeah. That
get you
that
used to her.
yeah, the same thing happened again recently too. Um Episode 41. It freaking it wouldn't work on Zoom. So it was Zoom, so because record everything on Zoom. It's with
Yeah.
Amanda from One Nothing podcast. And she fucking she's like and I was like,
Yeah.
ah, shit, this isn't gonna work. So we tried Riverside worked, and and then we had an hour and a half conversation. And then it was just I turned it on to listen back to it and stuff right after we had said our goodbyes, and it was just me. Just the video was just
I remember
me.
hearing you say that to
uh,
somebody else, and I was like, damn, that's brutal.
Yeah, and I texted her, and she goes, you could use that as an episode of you, like you should just record yourself like answering back to the what you're saying from that recording. And I was like, that's actually kind of interesting. I was like, that's gonna be some
Hmm,
time consuming shit though. But
that's interesting.
yeah, and but that conversation was completely different than the conversation we had. Like
Yeah.
obviously her stories were the same and stuff, but like my reactions, there was some things that were said in the first recording that weren't in the second one.
Yeah.
So I
I
mean,
mean, it's all in the moment, right? Like that's the whole kind of point of a conversation. Like,
exactly.
yeah. Um, no, I definitely get that. I've done similar things, so
So to the topic of the podcast and why I asked you to come on.
yeah.
Now, so what? So you've been experiencing paranormal activity here and there.
Yeah, I would say pretty much like my whole life, I guess.
Yeah.
Like much more personal, not necessarily seeing ghosts and stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
um yeah, so I've definitely had some weird things, that's for sure.
Yeah. What do you recall the first thing that you that has happened? Bleh. What I should just say, what if you can I can't speak tonight, man.
We're
What the
good.
hell is wrong
We're
with
not
me?
we're not going anywhere. We're not in a rush.
We're just running in place.
We're just walking in the forest and then like having a conversation.
Yeah. So what was your first experience that you remember?
So probably the first most prominent thing is I levitated as a kid.
No shit.
Yeah.
Were
Yeah.
you in bed or?
No. So okay. So basically I was probably about 7 and I was at my great grandparents' house, or actually was like the grandfather I mentioned that I live with. That was his parents. So like that's where I lived after the fact. Um, because that's house has been in our family the whole time. But my grandfather, my great grandfather, Al, it was just me and him at the house because he and my grandma would watch me. She might have been in the other room or something, but I just remember like it was just me and him. And I was just playing, being a kid. And so I was going in circles in that house. And because it goes from like, no, so he's sitting like in a recliner facing like the TV, and that is like the living room. And then to, if he's facing that way to the right of it, so if I'm facing you, you're the TV that way. That is the family room. So there's like a doorway without a door. So it's just an open frame. And then there's like a ledge. It's probably about this big, like 2 inches, maybe. When I was a kid, it felt like it was like a foot, but it's only like 2 inches, maybe 3, if that. So it's like a little ledge that steps down to that living room because that living room was added on after the fact. And then between them, if you go like, so if he's facing the TV, the family room's to the right, going back this way is a hallway that then connects around, making a circle. So it goes from the family room to the living room to the hallway and then back through. So I was able to create like a circuit and I'm running around. And as I was running, from the family room to the living room, I picked up extra speed or whatever. Like I was just going really fast because like there's like a straight, a good 10, 15 feet from the hallway through that living room. So I was able to pick up some speed like as a kid, and then I ran off of that ledge. And so I basically like lost my footing, and I basically ran too fast and I should have flew forward. And the thing about it too was his leg was up in a cast. His right leg, so the closest leg to me, and he's in this laid back in his recliner. And then to the left of that on the other side is like a lamp. So like I was going so fast, I should have like flew into that leg, possibly knocked that lamp over, and just would not have been like the greatest thing. Like I probably would have got a little hurt. He would have got a little hurt. And yeah, but instead, as I ran off of the ledge, I came off and I was running like midair, and I came off about a foot or so, or maybe half a foot, a kid's foot. So my feet were completely off of the ledge. And I had like the momentum of going forward, but I was like stopped, right? And like like Coyote, Wile E. Coyote,
Yes.
like those kind of cartoons.
Yeah.
When he runs off the ledge and he like is running for a second off the cliff, and then he looks down and then he like falls. But instead it was more like the Roadrunner where he like looks down and he actually comes back. So that's what happened was I looked down, my feet are running in the air, like I see them, and then like I look back up and I just come back to the ledge.
What?
Like I literally like there was nothing holding me. I wasn't holding on to anything. Like And so nothing was touching me. And
Uh-huh.
like I said, I came off, looked down, saw my feet, and then came back. And I stopped and like I looked up and he was like looking at me like, what the fuck just happened?
Wow.
And yeah. So that was like a major like, crazy like little event that happened because, I mean, I was a kid and as I got older, I definitely like would have thought, okay, maybe it was a dream, or maybe like I just didn't understand what happened, or I
Mhm.
held onto the door or something like that. But like he watched that happen and he was a grown ass old man. So I would ask him periodically throughout my life just to kind of like confirm it. And like to the day he died, he would say, like, no, like I saw that. Like I don't know how to explain it. Like you floated.
www.deeperdown.store. That's where you want to go if you want a hoodie like this. I don't know if you can see it that well. I don't know if you can see it that well. Hold on, I'll show you. If you're just listening to the audio, it's down the rabbit hole. So, if you're watching the video, I'm going to show you what it looks like. So this is my hoodie. I got it from David, who is __ down the dot rabbit hole __. He has a merch store, so go please fucking check that out. He's got a whole bunch of cool shit, cool designs. So if you need a hoodie, you need any kind of threads, please go check it out. He's a good friend of the show, and he's co-hosting over at One Nothing podcast for a couple episodes, so go check those episodes out. And please show him some love and some support. He's got a lot of cool shit in his store, so go check that shit out. Also, if you do decide that you want something from his shop, you can use my code Kevin's Weird 18. You get 18% off of your purchase. So however much shit that you want to get, the better it is for you to get more than just one thing with the coupon. So please go show him some love, show him some support. He's doing amazing shit. If you're not following him on Instagram, you probably should. So do that. All right, everybody. That's www.deeperdown.store. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Were you guys doing heroin together?
Yeah. No, my great grandpa and I always did heroin. only up until the age of 9 or 10. So
Oh my god, that is crazy. That's a crazy story. I don't think I've heard that anything like that one yet.
yeah.
What do
Same. I mean,
you
I'm waiting for her to hear somebody else floating. I don't know.
Yeah, what do you think? Do you think maybe like there was a spirit present and they picked you up because they knew you were gonna fucking crash and burn? Or
I usually that's the theory that most people tell me, like
yeah.
when they hear that story. Which I mean, obviously there's not much logic to the whole thing, so I guess that's the most logical answer. I mean, my like their parents, so like they're my great grandparents, their parents were in that house at one point, and then eventually they passed away. I don't think they passed away in that house, although my great grandma eventually did, but not at that time. So I mean, it would make sense, I guess, for that, but I don't know, like I didn't feel like anything was holding me, but there was the inertia of me going forward and then coming back, I mean, I guess like if you're a dad, so like if your kid came running off of something, you placed your hand out there, kind of caught them center in the chest and like moved them back before they could fall straight down. I guess like that would be the way that movement looked and felt, but I didn't feel anything grab me. So I don't know, like I always wondered that too, like I don't know, was this some sort of energy or a spirit, or my favorite is like, do I secretly have the ability to fly? And like, I don't know. Like,
And maybe
I
you're
mean,
magical. Maybe you're like a fairy descendant or some shit.
I fucking hope so, because that'd be dope.
That would be dope. That would be dope. But you said you're tall, so
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not I'd be a different kind of fairy, I guess.
oh my goodness. That I can't like I'm trying to well, I'm not trying to. I can't picture it happening and I just see it in more of like a slow motion kind of thing. Like once you stop, you're just like slowly put back. But
It was, I think for me, it felt slowed down because of like when something happens intensely, like your perception increases, so everything feels slow motion.
yeah,
I mean, it was probably a second. Like it was probably like whoop, boom. Like that's probably about the speed it was.
yeah.
But for me, it felt a little bit more like whoop, huh, boom. It's like come off, oh, look down, like what's happening, and then like you just come back. Like now I'm just standing again. Which like I don't know, physics aren't supposed to work like that. So I don't know how I would have even done that. I mean, like I said, it's a doorway. So you could argue, okay, like maybe my arms were holding the doorway and like I pulled myself back. But like I know that that didn't happen. And my
Mm-hmm.
grandpa watched it. So, okay, so I didn't touch anything.
Mm.
There was like a chair to the right as you like walk out that doorway. There's like another recliner, but I didn't touch that either. Right. I just was like literally like full like running motion, hands and feet, and then come out and then like just come back. So
Wow. I wish I
yeah,
would have seen. I wish I would have seen that.
yeah. I mean, I wish I had a different like perspective other than first person on that, because yeah, it's like
Yeah. Did you ever have you ever experienced anything similar afterwards or?
not like that. No, I mean, no, I would say I've not had anything like that for sure. But and I maybe this is I feel like this is kind of just natural, but like whenever I'm up on like a really like large like hill or mountain and you like look off into the valley and like there's just this sense that it's like I feel like I should just be able to fly off. Like I should be able to fly off of this mountain and just go. But I feel like that's everybody. Like everyone wants to be able to fly, you know.
I don't think that at all.
Okay. Well, maybe
Ever.
this is me.
I
But like
mean,
I've always felt that, but like I don't think I don't know. I'm not gonna take the chance, you know.
yeah, I've always thought that. I mean, I have thought that it when I'm like up high somewheres. I have thought like, man, it would be cool if I could fly, but I don't want to necessarily. But it would be interesting.
Right.
I mean, I've had those thoughts, but usually I'm just like I'm up somewhere and I'm like, all right, let's go down. Let's get out
Right.
of here. So
Right. Yeah, no, I think eh, I mean that's like the closest thing would be like that feeling of like I should be able to do this. Like, you know, the same feeling of like, oh, I should be able to run up this hill. Like
yeah,
it's like the same thing as like I should be able to just kind of like zoom off, but
yeah.
I probably would just fall to my death. So
Have you ever seen what the hell's that movie called? It's a like a school for gifted or like I guess like magical kid children. Miss Pettigrew's School of Peculiar Things or people. I don't
huh.
know. I don't know. I know it
That's
has peculiar in it, peculiar children or something like that. But
yeah.
there's a girl in it that floats everywhere, and like you say when you're like, I just feel like I should be able to fly. I feel
Yeah.
like that like the minute you said that, it reminded me of this little girl in that movie.
Like I said, I wish, like I don't know if I could figure it out. I'll definitely let you know. But no, I've not really definitely not had that happen. And if I had, it's buried in my memories under something. So
Yeah. Have you ever considered that maybe like like a witch descendant? Like, and when I say witch, I don't mean like fucking boiling pot, fucking
Yeah.
stirring the kettle or whatever like that. Like, um not like, and I don't mean it in a negative way either,
Yeah.
but
No,
because
I
there's a lot of like different. Ooh, I gotta do something about this mic because I hit my, or just not wear hats because I hit my visor off this thing so many times. But there's like different kinds of witches, and not all of
yeah.
them are, I guess, would be bad. But
Hmm.
I do know from stories. I guess I don't know for factual, but I have always heard um in real life that they fly. I mean, not like fly,
Right.
but they can
Right.
like get off the ground.
That's a good point. Maybe I should try the broomstick thing. But but for reals, I mean, I don't know too much about like my lineage. I mean, I've done like ancestry, so like I know like my genetic markers and stuff.
Yeah.
So like it would make sense. Um, and but I mean I do like consider myself a witch, like a light witch, so
Yeah.
only affiliating with like the light side and protection. So, and I don't really like do spell work or anything like that, at least not right now. Um, but I'm mostly just like an energy worker. But um so yeah, I mean it would make sense. Like, I mean, I
Eh.
technically am a witch, so but
uh
yeah.
that's, do you do like tarot and stuff like that?
I have, but it's
Yeah.
been a long time. I basically was trying, okay, so I guess this kind of just starts getting into the whole thing. So basically, um, in like 2018, I tried to get more into my own like spirituality, figure things out or whatever. And I think that's when I started like, witchcraft and stuff.
Hmm.
Um, and I got like some tarot cards, I got some books, and I got some rocks and some crystals, and I kind of just went from there. And I I'd always had like a kind of a fascination with the Viking gods. Um, there was this movie called The Vikings with Kirk Douglas. It's like an older movie. If you ever seen it, I don't know.
Um, I feel like I have, but
Yeah, you can find it on like maybe Amazon, but I I know I had it actually on like my PlayStation. Like it was actually on the PlayStation Network. But anyways, um there was like this shaman like witch lady, and she would throw rune stones. And
mm,
like it was just always like so like it just always captured my like imagination and interest with that. And then so as I got more into that, I decided, okay, I'm going to like align myself with a Viking god. So I chose Hel. So Hel, or Hela. So she's the goddess of the underworld known as Hel, which is one of the like 9 realms of like the Viking kind of pantheon like universe.
hmm.
And for me, I was never like I'm not a Satanist, and I never like was. And I was never like religious. Like I hated going to church. I did not like the
Same.
whole God thing and all that. And to the point where it was like a repulsion, actually.
Yeah.
And there's more like to that as we'll get into. But I was drawn to this dark goddess because her her story is that she's like split down the middle vertically, and she's half undead and then half like extremely beautiful. And so because of her visage, she was cast down by Odin to rule the underworld. And so she always gets this like bad rap, and especially because like the Vikings didn't necessarily like all see her as evil, but all of our understanding of her and like the Viking gods and like pantheon comes through like Christian and Catholic translations.
Okay.
So as soon as they hear of this character called Hel that rules the underworld, you know, now that's like a negative thing. And so their version of hell was not fiery but cold, you know, because they lived in this like brutal territory and times where everything was cold. So like to go to like a more darker place was a cold place. But also her rule of the afterlife was where everyone went. So everyone went to hell, good or bad, and you got whatever you deserved, right? If you did well, then cool, like you're gonna have, you know, you're not going to be punished, so on and so forth. And then it was the warriors who went to Odin and Valhalla. And so I just really identified with like her duality and, you know, being misunderstood. And so that's kind of why, like, part of why I gravitated towards her. And so then as I got more into this, I decided I'm going to try to like connect with myself and like the universe and like open my third eye, and I'm going to do a bunch of mushrooms to
Nice.
do that.
Nice. I like mushrooms.
Yeah, I could tell. So so I would make mushroom tea with like a bunch of weed in it too. Right?
Ooh, shit, son.
Oh yeah. Yeah, because I smoked since I was like 16. So like the weed was like help balance it out.
Yeah.
And so so I did I was basically doing mushrooms for like a week straight.
Wow. You know, they
Like,
say that
yeah.
like that's what the Vikings did. Like the Vikings
Yeah.
were like very into the mushroom, like the psychedelic mushrooms and shit like that.
So I and I wasn't like I'm not like I smoked weed, but like I was never like a party girl. I didn't like, you know, I had like a little moment of like a few years kind of like right before that of like going out and drinking with friends, getting wasted, but I was never the party girl. I didn't do drugs. So for me to do that was very much more like, okay, I'm just doing this to have like a spiritual, like personal, you know, connection. Because like I hadn't done mushrooms until I was like 26. And then like my friend like had it and we did it and had a good time. And then after that, I, you know, took it upon myself to like during this time to go through and kind of use that to open myself up and like just figure shit out. So I did that, and then I meditated, and as I was doing it and went through this whole like experience where I think it was so like in a span of a week, I probably did it like 3 times. And I think the first time I'm getting it all confused a little bit, like whether it was the first or the second time, or it was only one of the times, or it was both. Because it was like 5 years ago and I was on mushrooms. So like forgive me, you know. But but point is I went through this experience, what I would call an ego death. So it's where I basically, as I was connecting with myself and just having this like very intense personal moment, I remember like the sensation and like the visualization of like gears coming together and locking. And as it went up, my whole like I began to have this like crazy like dopamine rush or serotonin rush. Yeah, serotonin. Obviously like the mushrooms, right? But I like leaned back in my chair and all of a sudden I just like left my body and I just like zoomed up out of it.
Whoa.
And I went and I completely like disconnected from like I was still me, like the true like me, my spirit, right? But I was, but like the person I am in this life, while like I care and love this person, this body, it was like, well, okay, like it's just this life. It's not going to be here forever. And when you leave, you're going to be this. So none of this actually matters. Not in like a, oh, like a depressed, like, fuck this world kind of way. It was just like a acceptance of, okay, this is just what's going to happen. Like at some point in your life, you're going to die and you got to be able to let go. So it was like that. So it's like I come out of my body and I zoom completely out, and then it just accelerates faster and faster until I reach like the top of the universe. And now I'm seeing like the whole universe, and I'm like completely connected with like my higher self and like spirit. And it felt like, I would say it felt like I was communicating directly with my higher self, possibly like the highest self, who then they were liaisoning between me and spirit itself, or God, whatever you want to call it. I don't care, same thing. Just like the core of the universe, right?
Yeah.
Everything, all creation. So yeah, I just had this like really intense like personal experience where, and to note too, actually, like when I zoomed up on my body, I first went into myself, like went like to the deepest point within myself and then up out. So yeah, I had this very, hard to explain experience, but the point is that it taught me that I was like completely one with everything. And as I came back down to myself, I had this like realization that all of this, all of our universe, everything, part of existence, reality, is all you experiencing yourself subjectively. So the idea of like, the simplest way to put it is like you are the universe and you're having this human experience to experience yourself, because like if a tree falls in the woods, does it exist if no one sees it, kind of thing, right? Which maybe isn't the perfect analogy, but just trying to give some coordination. So I immediately called my cousin, who's a little bit younger than me, but like we're best friends, and he had already like gone through like a whole like psychedelic experience at that point. And so I called him immediately. And as I called him, it was like, I don't know, I was just like in that moment, I was like completely connected to everything. And I was like, you're going to pick up right now. And then he picks up like, and I was just had this like weird understanding that like he was me. And like the voice that I'm hearing is just my subconscious speaking to myself. So essentially, like all other people are just me and a projection of like my subconscious, but they're equally real. And then also, like, I am a projection of theirs. So we're all like inside of the one mind or whatever. So this is like this crazy experience. Like, it's like really hard. It sounds hippie as fuck, but like, I'm definitely not a hippie. That's just kind of the connection to everything that I had.
Yeah.
So after this experience, I took like a little break, like a week or two, and then I went back to trying to like kind of recreate this. Like I was like, okay, I figured it out. Like I hacked the system. I know what to do. And this time I was like, I'm gonna go speak to the gods that I'm like talking to. And when I went to do this instead, when I went up this time, it was a little bit more like I was being like rigid. Like I wasn't completely like opened up.
Yeah.
And suddenly like I hit a ceiling and I got like knocked back down to my body, and like I had this impression that the gods were like, okay, good job, but also you cheated. You're not supposed to do it like that. Like you're supposed to be able to do this on your own. You don't need to take mushrooms, all this stuff, and that's when I then had this other realization that like the mushrooms are also conscious, and then when you ingest them, you're sharing, like they're sharing your consciousness and you're sharing theirs, and that's why you're having this experience. I don't know. This is just what was happening. So, um, so then after that, like I started to get even more depressed, ironically. Like I was already depressed and struggled with all this like my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't understand. And then I started to learn what it was, and I was like learning to cope with it a little bit. But it got worse at that time. And it was like later that year, that was like 2020. No, that was 2018. So then yeah, I went through like that whole like year or two. Yeah. And then all the way at the end of 2020, I ended up moving all this stuff. So but like I said, like I felt I connected with this dark goddess, blah blah blah. I figured it was all good. Because I'm like, hey, like I'm gonna use the dark to fight for the light. And that is not how it works. So
No, it's not.
so so yeah, so from there, I'll kind of segue to a little bit deeper, where I eventually would come to learn that I had an attachment.
No shit. So
Yeah,
real quick before you get into that,
yeah.
so how tall are you?
5'11".
Okay. All right. And is your hair red naturally?
Naturally, yeah. It's like naturally, like when I was little, I was like completely ginger, but it got darker. So like you can see like the top of my head is a bit
Yeah.
more darker. Like that's like my natural color right there. But I did dye it like twice now. Like I dyed it blonde for like a year, and then I just bleached it one more time, and then went completely like bright red.
Okay.
So, which I think I have like those pictures and stuff like on it Instagram.
Yeah.
But
And
yeah,
then,
so now it's just faded.
and what color are your eyes?
Like brown, like hazelish, light
Hazel.
brown sometimes. Yeah, like I
Okay.
don't know if you could see.
I think you are a Viking. I think you might have Scandinavian. Like seriously.
Yeah,
Because I mean, just that whole like thing about how you feel connected with like the Viking stuff, and then you're doing mushrooms, which is something that Vikings do.
yeah,
And you're taller than me, so
that makes sense.
not you're only an inch taller, so
Okay, that's fine. Hey, at least you're honest about your height. So,
but yeah, no, Vikings are tall as fuck.
yeah,
Though the women weren't like super tall, they were still
yeah,
taller.
yeah.
But I know like yeah, I just they're just tall, large people, and they're usually blonde or redhead.
Hmm.
There's some brunette lineage in there, but it's normally blonde and redhead
Yeah,
for any kind of Viking thing. So I find that interesting. That's why I asked. So
yeah, no, that's cool. I mean, I'll take it. Yeah, it sounds dope. So actually, like I said, I did do Ancestry. So I would like to do it again, or try even another like DNA testing service. But
yeah, we're all
according to
black.
the, yeah,
I'm just
I'm not gonna touch that. But according to that, I'm 60% Welsh,
okay.
30% Scottish Irish, 7% Swedish, and 2% Norwegian.
Norwegian, that's where it is right there.
Hmm. I mean, and obviously, like with the way DNA works, like a 2% could be like stronger than that other 10% of something else. I don't know, but
Yeah. Yeah, the
yeah.
way they do that is a little weird. My sister did it not too long ago. I can't remember her results, but I remember like her telling me about it. I'm like, what the fuck? Because I
Yeah.
know for a fact that like so we're French and Indian. So
Oh, okay.
Like
Interesting.
I just feel like and so my dad is French and Indian, and my mom is French. My growing up, my mom always said, "I'm a little bit of everything." I'm like, that doesn't tell me anything.
Right, right.
That's not helpful at all. She goes, I'm a little bit of everything. Um, but she's French. Like the last name is French. My dad's last name is French Indian. Um, so like when our family back in the day were being separated into the reservations and whatnot, like they and the government was starting to like establish themselves. They were like, you need a name, whatever. So like you need a first
Right.
name, middle name, last name, or whatever. So my ancestors chose Sapiel, or a lot of so it's funny because there's two pronunciations for my last name, and Sapiel is like the French way to say it, and then Sapiel is like is where if you're on the reservation, that's how the natives are gonna say it. So they say
Interesting.
Sapiel, um, which um, so my sister, when she did the ancestry thing, she's like, so they chose that name because they were associating the last name with Saint Paul, and
Hmm.
which I don't know who Saint Paul is, but I think she did, I think she does, and she gave me like this whole. I wish she was still co-hosting because she could be telling you all this information that I'm possibly getting wrong, and sharing with you, but but yeah, she's like they associated that's their interpretation of St. Paul. So when they made when they came up with the last name, they thought they were spelling out St. Paul or whatever. And but
Wow.
have you ever heard of the Book of Enoch?
Yes, yeah.
And have you heard so you heard the Watchers, they come down and they sleep with the human women and make Nephilim children or and
Yeah.
whatnot. So the Watchers, the angels, there's Azrael and there's all these names, but I came across so one of the Watchers, his name is Sapphire, which is exactly my last name, just with an H in it. So
That's interesting.
it's SAP, and then there's an H, and then IEL. And then my last name is Sapiel.
That's
So
actually pretty cool.
I don't know if there's actual connection there, but
Yeah,
I was reading that book and I was just like, whoa, wait a second. I was like, this is weird. So
I'm let's just say it is for now till we know different.
I mean, maybe the Watchers were still here. I mean, I know that what when America became a nation, it was 1776, so fucking 17,000 years after Christ. So and then what
Yeah, 1700.
it's been millions of years of it's been millions of years since humans have been on Earth. So
Yeah.
there's no like actual timeline for the Book of Enoch, but I want to say it was either I want to say where it takes place was before Christ existed, so it'd be like the
Yeah,
BC
definitely.
era. But
Yeah.
either way, I just thought it was interesting, and I thought I'd bring it up since we were talking about ancestry.
Yeah, for sure. I love that shit.
So let's get into your attachment.
Yes. So so I always had sleep paralysis since I was like really young.
Mm-hmm. I fucking
Um
hate sleep paralysis.
yes. Yes, it's a thing.
It is.
Um no, I so pretty much is like pretty early as I can remember, I've had it, but definitely probably one of the first times that I is most notable, which actually is kind of like I actually broke out of it really quickly, but I was probably about like 12 and I was staying at my aunt's house, and I was laying down on the couch. The TV was off to like to the left, where towards my feet, and then it's a living. I was in the living room, and then it's like got an island, and then there's the kitchen. So then there was like the yellow light of like the from the outside street lights coming in. So it's just like this very kind of ambient glow. It's the middle of the night, and as I'm laying there, already asleep. So I'm like kind of like dreaming about something, and then suddenly there's this dark shadow figure standing over me. And it was like a full-grown man, but it was silhouetted, but it was completely dark. And I reacted to it really quickly, and that's actually like it broke me out of like because I was like kind of stuck there, and it broke me out of it. And I actually like sat up. Like so I sat up in the dream, but in doing that, I physically sat up. And so I sitting up woke me up, and then I actually opened my eyes. So I realized at that moment, like that my eyes were actually closed, but I was still seeing the whole room around me as it was.
Wow.
Yeah, which also is like a thing that happens during my sleep paralysis. And it also happens like a lot of times when I'm falling asleep, going into like the sleep state, is like I know my eyes are closed, but like I'm seeing everything as it is as if they were open. But as I sat up, the figure disappeared. So that was like one like event that like really stood out to me. But from there, I would continue to have it periodically, but it probably started to pick up when I was like about 16. And I had I was having like this sleep paralysis, and like I just, you kind of you just wake up, but you're not awake and you can't move, and the room is dark, and you're just immediately in complete dread. And like most times when this happens, I'm like either staring at like if there's a door open, like I'm like staring at the open door or like the closet, or I'm staring towards like the edge of the bed where I'm expecting something to come from there. Like I'm just waiting, like I know it's there. And I would hear this like growling at the foot of the bed by my feet. And it was not like a dog, like it was like a fucking demon. Like it was like dark, and scared the shit out of me. And like I said, I wasn't like religious, but like I was taught, when shit like that happens, like call upon God and Jesus, and so I was that desperate, and I did, and it broke me out of it. So that happened several times. And then I would have it, like I said, periodically, sometimes more frequent, sometimes less. And then it wasn't until like the last few years when it started to pick up more, and leading up to the point where I was finally cleared of my attachment, it became very regular. So it basically was like an every night thing. Like every night I knew when I go to sleep, I'm gonna get sleep paralysis tonight. It's always at like 2:30, 3 o'clock, 3:30. It's always at that time. And now I'm starting to see things. So I'm starting to see these shadows pass by the doorway, or like, some like old lady walking by, or like kids running around, or like I said, like a dark shadow like passing back and forth in the doorway. And then eventually it became like these shadows, like a cloud of like a dark mist, like at the foot of the bed, or like above me. And I would also have these moments too where I would start being like classic like movie, and like I would be lifted up out of the bed, like levitated towards the ceiling,
Mhm.
Though I don't think that actually physically happened. Like if you're looking at me, I was probably just asleep, maybe moaning, trying to scream. But and I had a roommate that like basically like when I did that, I would like float up, and then like I would see into their bed, and I would see like their face change into like something like demonic or scary. And like through like I don't know, it's just like everything was open. And yeah, so it's just like because it's like a dream state, so it's like really hard to like understand and explain like when you're in that state. But yeah,
Right.
so I would have these like really scary things, and I started to like be like, "Is my roommate like got something going on?" Like, you know.
Yeah.
And here I am, the witch that's like worshiping a dark goddess, being like, "Yeah, it must be you," you know.
Yo, you like crystals? Do you like healing crystals? Do you like candles? Are you into energy healing and cleansing your mind, body, and soul? Bro, head on over to etsy.com/shop/heal with Christina. You won't be disappointed. I promise you. She's got amazing, amazing handcrafted crystals, custom made, some of them. So you should definitely check her out. She's an amazing person. She's an amazing friend. All she wants to do is help people. She wants to heal people. And she's just here, just shining her light. And it's fucking bright. It's a bright ass light. So, again, if you're into healing crystals and whatnot, you're spiritual, you got to go check her store out. Again, that's etsy.com/shop/heal with Christina. Upon checkout, enter the coupon code WEIRD125. You get 25% off. So please show her some love and check her out. She goes by Heal with Christina on Instagram, so you can connect with her there too. So, yeah. Check it out. It's
Can't be
never us,
me.
is it?
Yeah, it's not me.
Am I the drama? I might be
Yeah,
the drama.
that might be the job. Yeah, it's me. So yeah, so eventually she was like, no, I think it's you. Um, to the point where one time like I woke up from having this same like, experience where I'm having sleep paralysis, and there's this dark cloud over me, and now they're getting closer, and I wake up and I'm like crying. And then she tells me, she's like, were you making noise in your room? I was like, what? And she's like, I heard it growling coming from your room.
Oh shit.
Yeah. That's when I really started to like break down, and I was crying. And she's like, it was probably like, a dog or something like that. Like, but it was like after that she stopped telling me this, but apparently it happened multiple times. So, so sleep paralysis, dark things happening, waking up totally petrified. So I backstepping and reconnecting this, I was like, got really into so I've always been a fan of Les Stroud, and his channel on YouTube led me to Sasquatch Chronicles.
Yep.
Okay, which is that really cool channel. But I started listening to that, and then I think through that brought up in my feed, or maybe even it was Les Stroud, because I know he's like connected with them, was David Paulides with the Missing 411, which I love. Like I watch that guy like daily.
Yeah.
So I got really into that. And so this basically like began this journey of, I had already like listened to podcasts. I listened to like Rogan, and that's who kind of got me into podcasts. And then I started to branch out, and then I started getting into this paranormal. And so that led me to Uncomfortable. So if you're familiar with Eric and his channel, yeah. So so Eric from Uncomfortable, really cool guy. And I had actually tried reaching out to this other lady from a different podcast, who was like a spiritual, like, healer type person. And I just basically ended up like not resonating with her for whatever reason. So like I talked to her like once or twice and that was it.
Okay.
So I dropped that. And then as I was listening to Uncomfortable, I decided like I need help. Like I'm like struggling in my regular life, like, and I'm struggling with like my mental health. Like, let me get my spirituality in control. Like, let me see, because I've always known, like, I know I've got some sort of gifts or something, but I don't know how the hell that shit works. I'm a very like scientific brain for the most part. So it's hard for me to be like, yeah, like, let's do magic, you know? But I was already going down that path and kind of learned like from that mushroom trip, like what magic really was and stuff, and like how, you know, it's kind of like how our ancestors like used science was like magic, right? It was like how you connect with your brain to the universe, and you know how you affect reality. So I reached out to Eric, and he like got back to me like that day, and then he's like, yeah, like, you want to chat? Like, I was like, yeah, of course. Like, I was like, I'm not somebody who like reaches out randomly, and especially to somebody who like does a podcast or something. I am more now. Like now I am, but like before I was just very like, you know, very insecure, very like to myself. And so yeah, like I reached out to him, and then he was like, yeah, let's talk. So we chatted that night. We talked for like 2.5 hours, just like chilling. Like it was cool. And so I was like, you know, just like really vibed and everything. And then towards the end, he was like, so like, what'd you message me about? And I was like, I just need help. And I don't know why, but like I need some sort of spiritual help. And for some reason, I feel like you're a really cool guy. And I just feel like you know people. I feel like you know somebody that can help me. And he goes, okay, I do. I've got the perfect person for you. You should reach out to JJ Rose 777. So I don't know if you know who she is, but
I follow her. She follows me. I've
okay.
never had a conversation with her or anything.
Okay. So yeah, so I reached out to her, and I had actually listened to her episode that had come out like 2 months or a month before I had actually reached out to Eric. And I remembered it because at the end she's like, you know, if you need something, you need help, like reach out to me. And for whatever reason, maybe it's because I had that past experience with that other lady, I just didn't, because I was like, I don't want to bother her. Like, I'm sure everybody reaches out to her, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So with the, you know, basically like the permission of Eric, I decided to do it. And she's a wonderful, wonderful lady who is now like, she's like my mom. Like I literally consider her my spirit mom.
That's nice.
Yeah. So JJ, if and when you're listening to this, I love you. But yeah, so she was just immediately like very nice and friendly and there for me. And I was just like kind of like not expecting that. And then she was like, yeah, like, you know, can I read you? And I was like, yeah, of course. Like, that's what I'm trying to do here. So whatever you got to do, you know, and we're just emailing at this point.
Yeah.
So I let her do that, and we don't talk. She just is able to, you know, tune into you. And so she messaged me like, okay, so like tell me a bit about more, like what you're into, like all that. So I told her about myself, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm like, you know, I follow this dark goddess called Hell, you know, blah blah blah. And she's like, okay, that makes sense. And I didn't get it. Like I'm still over here thinking like she's cool, man. Like she's just like the hot chick that's like into dark shit, you know, like this dark goddess, like whatever. Again, people, that's not how that works. So so she tells me you have an attachment. And I'm like, okay, like that kind of makes sense. I was suspecting this by this point. What do we got to do? She's like, okay, you're gonna, you know, we're gonna take 3 days to like start clearing and go listen to my videos, kind of get an idea of how to like protect yourself and cleanse yourself spiritually with some energy work. So I did, and I started listening to some of her videos, but then I would like listen to one or two and then get lazy and like stop. And for me, I was always like, oh, okay. I just thought it was like, I'm just not meant to listen to that right now, because that was like the feeling I had. But of course, if you have an attachment, that attachment does not want you listening to her at all.
Right.
So, because she's a light worker, she's, she's there to like clean that shit out, so she's not their friend. And so that was, I think, part of like my resistance to it. And eventually she's like, okay, we're gonna clear you out today. And I'm like, cool. I'm like, I don't know what the hell any of this is gonna be, but cool, let's do it. I want to feel better. So she's like, I'm gonna call you at like 4:00. And then I was like, okay, cool. She calls me at 1. I'm not ready. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, I was gonna like meditate and all that before this, but okay, cool. So go to my room, close everything off. I'm just sitting there and, get relaxed. And then she, helped me like, start. Actually, I think we did the bubbling after or before. I'm being foggy on it, but yeah, I think the bubbling came after, maybe. No, probably before. Fucking doesn't matter right now. Point is like, we kind of got everything set up, warmed up, and then it gets to the point where she's like, okay, like, I'm gonna light blast you. And at this point, like, again, I'm in Chicago and she's in California, so she's come to my place energetically, psychically, whatever you want to call it. And she hadn't even seen a picture of me, and she's like describing features of my face, and I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I totally like trusted her. Like, I'm pretty good at like, yeah, you're full of shit. Like, if I'm any question, I'm gonna tell you like that person is full of shit. Like, or they don't, they're misinterpreting whatever.
Yeah.
But like with her, it was just like I knew. So anyways, so she like gets to the point where she's like, okay, like we're gonna pull this attachment out of you, which actually was plural. So it was multiple attachments.
Oh shit.
Yes. So that's the other part of this that I realized after the fact, because she didn't want to scare me. But I had this since I was 9 years old. So I haven't quite figured out or have the memory, because I think I'm like repressing it, of when it happened. But I'm pretty sure that's when the sleep paralysis started and all that kind of stuff. So, and to note one thing, just because we were kind of talking about like depression, anxiety, anger, and things like that earlier, like I still have those issues, right? Because that's just, it's like your life history, the chemical balance of your body and your genetic disposition and just how you deal with things. So it's like,
it's never gonna go away.
It doesn't go
completely.
away. You learn how to deal with it. But there was a huge difference, because I had like way worse anger, and everything was just so much worse. And I had so many times where like a good friend of mine, like I would like basically treat them like shit and think it was all them. Right. And I would be like full like screaming mode at them and have like really just bad thoughts and stuff about myself. But the thing was about that, the reason I bring that up is because it was always like there was something else that wasn't me on the pedal. I felt like I was watching from behind my own eyes. I was like, I'm not in control of this. I know actively as I'm saying this, I'm not supposed to be saying this. I don't want to be saying it, but I'm committed to saying this for some reason. So, and that was the feeling that went away once I was cleared. So my point is like, that is how the attachment worked. And it worked it as to basically just like, if you're in a car and like the person like next to you steps on your foot on the gas and you can't pull your foot away. And they're just going full throttle and you just got to like manage the brake and the fucking steering wheel. And what happens when you use a brake when the car's already going full speed, like it burns out, right?
Right.
So that's like my analogy for that.
That's
So
a good analogy, actually. Thank you for
yeah.
that.
Actually, yeah, I never actually used that analogy, but it just popped in. So that's yeah, a good analogy for it. But so anyways, yeah, so she basically just like reaches into my body like spiritually and pulls this shit out. And I remember being like, she's like, okay, take a deep breath. And as I did, I went, and all of a sudden, as I breathed out, I could feel like my stomach like gurgle, and then like this bellowing from like way deep down. That was not like, oh, I'm belching or I'm having like a stomach grumble and it's like coming out. Like it was like a deep, like not my voice coming out of me, and I felt it like get lifted out.
Wow.
Yeah. And she had to do this like multiple times to like get everything out of there.
Oh my goodness.
And then after the last one, I was just like completely in shock, and I didn't understand. Like, it's hard to understand what's happening in that moment, because like you're feeling all of this, but you're alone in your room, and then you're talking to your, to somebody on the phone that was like already kind of my friend at that point. But like, it's just this really weird, like your body just doesn't understand. Your brain doesn't really know how to comprehend it. So yeah, I like just broke down like crying afterwards, and I felt like the difference. And that was the thing too. So the next thing I'll note was like, whenever I would look around me with my mind's eye, I thought it was just like my imagination, whatever, but it was me using like my mind's eye. And I would even like, I remember this like when I was young too, and there would always be like creepy, dark, like zombie monster looking things walking around, especially if I'm laying in my bed and it's dark, and like they just come up into your face and like stare at you, and like they don't have a nose, and like their mouth is all fucked up, and like right. And I'm like, that's probably just my imagination. I watch too much stuff. Okay. Like, but it was always like that. And then as I was sitting there during this whole thing from the start until she pulls it out, in my mind's eye is what I thought was like my spirit team or something like that. And it was all these hooded figures sitting around me, and like me at the head of it. And I had like a lit candle in the center. And I was like, oh, they're here to help me, right? But they're dark hooded figures.
Yeah. When have you seen dark hooded figures come to the rescue?
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I'm sure there's like some superhero. Nope, you can't. No. So no. And so yeah, like as she does this, and she hits like this like huge like light blast after to like seal everything up and clear the room, they vanish. And I realized in that moment, like, wait, I'm actually seeing all of this in my mind's eye, and I'm actually like, these are the things that are like energetic spiritually around me. And it was like everything went from like dark and gloomy to like a feel of like golden and green, like trees and grass and all this stuff, just all in my mind's eye. And that's when I realized it was like, I'm not just like imagining this, like this is what I'm sensing, like through like my third eye, through my like gifts or whatever. And so like, yeah, it was just like really weird. It's like I sound like I'm trying to explain another mushroom trip, but I'm like, it's what happened. I was not on mushrooms, wasn't stoned, like, but yeah, so I ended up there was like one more little like shadow person like running around the room, and I could see it now. And so I told her, and she's like, okay, just give me a second. And she's like, okay, now you're gonna light blast it. And I'm like, cool, what's that? So she explains to me like how to do that. And I was like, oh, you're just like, Goku, like Kamehameha, boom. And that's what I did. So that's like literally what I did, because I was like,
Yeah.
which is interesting because it's like that's how your brain, like if that's what's familiar to you, that's what's going to be most powerful for you to use, right? So I'm like, I fucking let's go Super Saiyan, motherfucker, like So so yeah, I'm a huge nerd. But yeah, so like I like cleared that thing out and like sealed up the room, and all of a sudden it was just like, I mean, it was like hadn't done heroin in like 10 years or something, like, which I don't do heroin. Just like it was like getting away from it.
That's the reoccurring joke through this fucking
Yeah.
podcast.
Yeah. For those of you just tuning in, my grandpa got me on heroin, and then, I stopped, and then, yeah, well, I'm just kidding. But yeah, no, so no heroin, just so we're clear. But yeah, so it was just like a complete relief of like this pressure on my mind and on my shoulders, like a physical and spiritual. And because I remember she'd said it was like burrowed into like the back of my head. And so like ever since then, like I feel like there's this like spiritual scar on the back of my neck, which like cheesy, but it tingles when dark shit's around. So
Oh, so you got a spidey sense.
I got a spidey sense, which is cool because that's my favorite character. So
yeah, that's dope.
Yeah.
Spider-Man used to be my favorite. Well, I don't know if he was ever like actually my favorite, but I know I liked him.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But so you said it's like attached to like the back of your head, you said, right? Like, or
Yeah.
Did you ever experience like migraines or anything before she came and helped you?
I I would experience migraines, but I don't think it was anything like chronic or severe. Like, but I definitely had them, so I can't say it was like specifically because of that. But the one thing though was like when I would have like a emotional breakdown, especially like when I was like alone, I would always like kind of like go to the ground in like a fetal position and like grab the back of my neck. And I just felt like I literally always felt like there was like something clawing into me.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
now I know like it was clawing into me. So that's what it was happening. So yeah, it, especially like the closer it got to the time of being cleared, leading up to all this, I didn't know that's where it was all going until it happened. Which is why I think I mentioned too, is like when she called me earlier than she meant to, she normally is like poignant. Like if she tells you 3 o'clock, it's 3 o'clock. But she went earlier because she just obviously felt that was what was appropriate. And I think that plays into it, because I think like, it caught me off guard. So it caught the attachment off guard, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, so that's when I realized like, I had always had these things, but I think I had acquired more once I like got into this like dark goddess. And so I was able to, in that moment, like renounce her and all the other Viking gods. And so I don't like go like pray to any other like deity or anything anymore. I'm just trying to be one with myself and like spirit, because like unless I find like something in the future that I feel maybe connected with, or physically reaches out to me, or like spiritually, I might entertain that. But for now, like I'm just too, it's like if you don't know what you're messing with, don't mess with it.
Exactly. I will say this though, you are a goddess, so you should pray to yourself. You know what I mean? Like I mean, as a collective,
Yeah.
we are all special, and yeah, I mean, you don't need something to pray to, and just pray to yourself.
I agree. I totally resonate with that. Like I said, like I think we're all, like a projection of a spirit, or God, whatever you want to call it. So just experiencing self subjectively. So yeah, and then after that, like everything kind of like I was able to like, because I was struggling to get a job, and like I got a job, and I'm like a week later I met my girlfriend who I like immediately fell in love with, and like I'm living with now, and like I, we kind of discussed that already.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so it's just like all these like really positive things started coming together, and uh I was able to finally like be happy, like, and let myself be happy. It was like before it was always like something got in the way, or like I could never let myself. And but yeah, and so then it just like all kind of like it was like noticeable, like because I know that because like people that like didn't know about that would be like, something's different about you. You're
Mm-hmm.
like you're brighter, like,
Yeah.
Um yeah, so it was like a really crazy experience. And then eventually you know, like she stayed in contact with me, and then our like we became like pretty like really tight, and I was just like, and then after, because we were just like messaging like all the time, and I was just like, you're my spirit mom, so there's that. I'm declaring it. And she's like, oh, thank you. So um
Well, I'm happy she was able to help you. Um, I mean, I know we've only been talking for very little time, but I feel like a connection, like
oh
spiritually.
yeah,
So,
100%.
there's a lot of like similarities in our personalities. So, like I resonate with that really a lot. So,
Yeah, no, I
thank
really
you for
appreciate
being
that.
here.
Thank you. No, I'm glad you said that, because I do feel the same way, I like I said, it was the same way like I connected with Eric, and then I connected with her, and then I found some
Yeah.
other girls like through her that I'm like, like they're like my sisters. And then I found Tommy, and it was kind of the same thing. I'm just like, this guy is like genuine, seems cool. And the next thing you know, it's like this guy's like my brother now. He's like the older brother I always needed, kind of thing.
I
And
love
then
Tommy.
right, like he's just like so cool. So, and then I found you through his show. So I
Yeah.
started listening to you, and I was like, same thing. I was like, man, this guy's cool. Like, and I had actually been thinking of like reaching out to you. And then I created Tommy's like intro, and I was sampling like episodes from him. And so I went and I grabbed like a sample of like you and like your sister, because like you just had like this like sweet little like quote. And that I was able to like throw into the intro, just like having fun with it.
Yeah.
And then yeah, and then I was like, I feel like I should like I should talk to Kevin, And then like you randomly reached out to me, and I was like, and we were just like chatting or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, by the way, like I like stole your clip of your thing from Tommy's episode, like with you. And you're like,
Yeah.
okay.
I so I was listening to Tommy like religiously.
Yeah.
And then I noticed that like there were people that I would be talking to and like considering having on, and then all of a sudden he would have them on. And so I would try not to like listen to those episodes. And then
Mm,
I would try so I started listening to other episodes, and now like I'm behind on Tommy's show
yeah.
by a lot because he does 2 episodes a week. And at first,
Oh yeah.
when he first started it, he did 1 week of 2 episodes, and then the next week he only did 1 episode. And I messaged him, I go, dude, what the fuck? I was expecting 2 episodes this
Yeah.
week. He's like, oh my god, I'm so sorry.
I'm so sorry. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, he's a great guy. And then yeah, so I had messaged you, and you're like, oh, by the way, I was like, oh yeah, because I was like, I can't wait to listen to you. And then listen to your episode, and you're like, by the way, your voice is in the intro. And I was like, there's a new intro, now I have to listen to it.
Yeah.
So I listened to it, and and then I messaged him. I was like, "Bro, dude, I love your new intro." And he goes, "Yeah, I was actually supposed to tell you about it when I was on for the Conspiracy Tuesday episode that we did." And I was like, "No worries, man." He's like, "I hope it's okay." I was like, "Of course it's okay." I was like, "I used your voice because I used his voice for my trailer."
Oh, no way.
Yeah, so it's like a almost like I have a video. It's on the Instagram too. So it's like
Oh, okay. It's not in your intro though, is it?
no, it's not in my intro.
Okay.
It's just like it's a 2 minute trail. It's like a movie trailer kind of. So
Oh,
all
for the
the
podcast. Okay.
yeah. So like the everybody that had been on at that point in time
Yeah.
has a little clip of their face in there of them like laughing or something like that, and then I sampled a couple people's voices, like something that they had said in their episode that I found interesting, and then I threw it in there. So I think I have Vicky from Mrs. Spooky Obsessed podcast. I have um Tommy, Ron Grave Evidence on Instagram, Oren, who goes by the UFO Framework, and he's a guest. I'm not a guest, co-host for Bizarre Encounters podcast. Ow, I just whacked my hand. Um, and who else? I have Paige. She's a ghost hunter. She's also an empath, and she gave me a name of a friend that had passed away. And she's like, I don't know the significance of this name, but I feel like like after we were done recording, she's like, I have to tell you that this person has been like, she gave me the name and was like, just I was, for some reason they need you to know that they're here. And then she's like, but I don't know how true that is because I don't work on it. So like, I mean, it could just be nothing.
Yeah.
And then I have Christina, Witchy Paranormal. She's I do she was my first um YouTube ban.
Okay.
I got threatened to be banned. Actually, she wasn't. I
I
didn't
think I heard
actually
you
get
mention
banned.
that on the last episode or the one
Yeah,
before. Yeah.
yeah. I was kind of upset about it, but that's what I have Rumble for.
Oh yeah.
So, but yeah, no,
That's cool.
yeah. So he's like, oh, okay, all right. After I told him that his voice was in my trailer, he was,
Yeah.
and I was like, man, I was like, I recorded with you, so what, everything that I said in the recording is yours. Like, you own that
Right.
now, so
Right.
you can do
Right.
whatever the fuck you want with my voice in that. So
Yeah. No, and it's cool. So it's like so I had obviously like had influence from like the paranormal community has like a theme with the theme songs. There's like there's a structure, right?
mm-hmm.
And obviously, at least from my perspective, like that really started with Sasquatch Chronicles, and then obviously Confessionals picked up on it. Eric did his thing, was a little different but similar. And then Tommy had like a cool little sound, but I was like, we're like friends, and I'm like getting back into making music. I was like, dude, you want me to make you an intro? Like, even though I love your intro. And he's like, I was thinking about doing another intro, like all this stuff. That'd be awesome. Like, so, and I was like, fuck yeah. And I was like, well, let's chat, like, so I can see what you want. And we just weren't able to chat. So I was like, fuck it. I just made it. And I was like, I know what this shit should sound like. And then,
Uh-huh.
I actually went, I went around to other podcasts to try just to get some influence, and yours I went to. So actually, like, your intro, which I think is like so sick, not gonna lie. Like, every time I hear that, it makes me want to like rap like so hard. Like,
Oh
I'm like,
my god.
I need to like go off on this or something. Like,
Thank you. I had gotten the beat made, and I was sitting there, and when I put everything together, and it, like, I made the MP3, so like it all synced together and everything. Because it doesn't come through the computer and whatnot. Like, I don't have a system on my computer or my phone, so I got it onto my phone, and then I got in my car and I turned it like up, as not like super loud, but like, loud.
yeah,
And as soon as the freaking beat drops, I'm just like, yeah, dude, this is awesome. I
yeah.
love this. This is so, because like my first one, I felt like I was really excited about, but this one, I was hyped about it. And
Yeah.
so I appreciate you liking it, especially being from like a having a background in music. So
Yeah, no, for sure. Like so yeah, I was like, that was an influence. And then I also went and referenced like, although it's a little bit different, but like AI, Appalachian Intelligence, you know them?
yes, yeah.
Okay. And then Hollow Sky. So they also have a dope intro. So I was just kind of like listening to everybody, like I had already been listening to everybody, but like I would go and like specifically listen to the intro and just kind of catch like the vibe, the timing of everybody's, like how long they were and stuff like that. And then I was just like, all right, I know what I need to do. And I was just like, and I knew, I was like, it has to sound good on the phone because most people probably listen on their phone or their headphones, but it's like I also want that shit to slap in the car when you like put it on. So
For sure.
so I just had fun with it. And yeah, and actually, do you know Countercult?
No, I do not.
Okay, so I think they're fairly newer, but like JJ was on one of their first episodes like a few weeks ago or a month ago or whatever. It was probably a little bit longer. My time works differently. But time's weird. But yeah, and like I was just like, these guys are dope. So like I reached out to them. So now I'm like confident to reach out to people. Look at that. But so now I'm like friends with these guys. So you got Outlaw and Dick, and like these dudes are like really cool. So you know, I was like, so I'm working on some stuff with them, and then and yeah, just you know, I'm just like enjoying it, and like I'm finding friends, and like that's like really where all this started, was like started because like I needed help. And then after that I was just like, hey, you're cool, want to be my friend? Like you know what I mean? Like, and the next thing you know, I'm like on Tommy's podcast. He's like, you should come on. You ever had an experience? And I was like, well, I floated and I have sleep paralysis. And he's like, well, you need to come on. Like, and I was like, all right, then, like, I guess. And then I was just like, okay, whatever, I'm gonna do it. And then yeah, so now I'm just like, wait, I'm finding friends here. Like, this is cool.
I've made I mean, I feel like since I started this, like it. So when I first started it, I was just kind of like, I'll kind of do it here and there. And then I think it was like October, maybe November, I really got into it. And then like this January, Steam started rolling. And then I started talking to Tommy, and he was just like, hey, I'd love to have you. You got, because my sister was involved back when I started talking to Tommy, and he's like, you guys want to come on and talk about paranormal stuff? And I was like, yeah, sure. And I don't think he was expecting half of what I said to him, because he would like some of the stuff, he's just like, what?
Yeah. He has like the most genuine, like best reaction to shit too.
He does. His face tells it all. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like he's because he records like I do through Zoom. So so Tommy, if you listen to this one, I love you, and
I love you too.
I hope you keep going, and I wish you nothing but success.
Same. Yeah. It was pretty fucking cool.
Yeah.
Put out the vibe, find the tribe. That's his.
That's
so.
for sure. Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
I love it, and I'm so happy that that you're finding your people, especially from your attachments like that. Those that could have gotten pretty bad, you know. I'm sure she's told you.
Yeah. No,
So.
and that's yeah, it was like, it's definitely a weird thing, because like, you know, you always wonder like, oh, what's it like for people who are possessed? Which I wouldn't say I was possessed. It's not like it was like a full-blown demon. Like there's a hierarchy to this shit.
It was
I
definitely
don't know.
influencing you though.
Yeah.
Most likely.
Oh yeah. Big time.
Yeah.
You know, it feeds off of you. So it's like, it's not, yeah, it's not a good thing to have an attachment. And sometimes I hear people say like, oh, like have an attachment, but it's nice. It's like a kid following me around. I'm like, oh, like, oh, she's like, she doesn't ever do anything. It's like, if you have an attachment, like it's draining your energy, good or bad, like you should probably get rid of it. Like,
yeah,
do something about it. Like, don't just let it stick around. It's like, would you just like, you get out of a lake and you have a leech and you're like, oh, it's kind of cute. You just leave it there.
you know what that makes me think of? It makes me think of Stand By Me.
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
that movie.
Yeah.
Anytime somebody says something about a leech or there's a leech on somebody, that my mind instantly goes to him reaching into his underwears and
Oh my God, no.
just
I want nothing to do with that. Yeah. Yeah. So leeches, parasites, I'm not a fan of. So
yeah.
especially the spiritual ones. So yeah, definitely get rid of your attachments, people.
Yeah, do you
Um
know like types of attachment entities or anything like that? Because I
so
recently, so the Lights of Midnight at Midnight podcast that I was telling you
yeah.
about, so they're two mediums, which actually one of them is a graphic designer, and she is making t-shirts t-shirt designs for my store,
Oh
and
wow.
she is um I'm working with her to create a comic book, which I actually have to send her the fucking script so she can start doing that. And I'm gonna be starting a second podcast, and she's gonna make the logo for that. But anyway, so they're both mediums, and they told me that I have an attachment, and like they explain, so they said it was an octopus entity. I don't know if
Okay.
like you know anything about like that, but so it's Chastity and Emily, and Chastity was saying she gave me like a list of like effects that can occur from having this kind of attachment, but she said like the sense that once I started my spiritual awakening, like my spiritual journey, like it's been slowly detaching, but it's still attached.
Yeah.
But that list that she gave me, like literally I was experiencing all of it, which I mean a lot of it could be like in general kind of thing where a lot of
Yeah.
people could be experiencing it, but I don't know, I found it interesting. I didn't know if you like knew anything, because they talk about on their podcast, they talk about like a spider entity, and then
Hmm.
they're talking of like an octopus entity with me, so I don't know if you know anything
Interesting.
like stuff like that.
So um interesting. I just like went into like protector mode. I'm like, okay, I didn't want to say anything, but I was like, it was a possible suspicion, but you seem like pretty like healthy and together for the most part. So like I don't mean that in a bad way either, but like yeah, so as far as to answer your question, I mean, as far as I understand, like with the hierarchy, that like I don't know much.
Hmm.
But I know that like an attachment can be anything from like a random kind of like entity, like like a type of energy.
Hmm.
It could be like a creature of some kind, like an entity that is kind of not in our world, but it's like in the spirit world.
Hmm.
So that's where you get these other like weird looking things that take the form of like you said, like a spider or something, like a combination of like a cockroach and like a reptile or something like that. Um, and and then obviously but it can also be like someone who's passed as
Yeah.
well. Um, and then from there it starts to get more serious as you get more into like demons and like things like that. But those are like much higher like level like things. But so that's like kind of my rough understanding of it. And I think for me, when I see these things, it's usually kind of just like a dark figure that's kind of clouded. Um, I did see, trying to be careful talking about it because now we're drawing attention to ourselves spiritually. So
True.
uh definitely salt shower after this and cleanse if you know how to do that. If not, we could discuss that after. But yeah, so I've definitely seen like some interesting looking things. Um like I said, I want to give description, but I don't want to like dive into it too hard.
I
But
get I
like,
get it. I get
you
it
see
a
what I'm
little bit.
saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I've seen some things, but like, I've seen some things, but but is I'm actually interested though to like I'm definitely gonna check out their podcast because for one, it sounds like they're light workers, and two, just sounds interesting. And definitely if she's like putting together like a hierarchy or like a system of like, you know, especially if she's an artist and like they're making drawings of these things, I'd be curious to check them out. So, but as far as like, I don't know, like if it's an octopus, what that means. And from my understanding too, is like it can appear differently to
Yeah.
every person.
Yeah.
So depending on like what it is, and it could be something that's like, you know, if people have like an addiction or like depression or like different things, then yeah, different like entities are going to be drawn to that and they're going
Yeah.
to feed on that specific thing. So it's kind of like my general understanding.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Because
Yeah.
when I was on with them, well, they've been on my podcast twice. And then I was on with them. And she was just saying, she said that this specific entity has been with me since I was a child. Um, just based off of like my childhood trauma. So
Okay.
like my childhood wasn't like the shittiest, but there were like emotional and traumatic things that had happened. So, but I
Yeah.
mean, a lot of us actually have a lot of these. Some of us don't realize. But you know, all we can do is just work on ourselves and try to be better people for the collective. That way,
Yeah.
we can help raise better children for the future. That way, we don't have kids experiencing the things that we experienced. You know.
Yeah.
But like I was telling them, I was never really shown how to deal with my emotions. You know what I mean? Like when I was disciplined, I would say I wasn't disciplined. I was yelled at, like
Yeah.
or beat. Like my mom would like freak the fuck out about anything, and then I'd get the shit kicked out of me, and then like it was no explanation of why. Like it was just like, oh, she got angry, so she hit shit. So she hit me, or she hits people. So um through like high school, every time somebody made me mad, I was punching them in the mouth. So,
Right.
you know,
Right.
but as an adult, you know, we work on these things, and when we realize, and I don't know, I feel like a lot of people when they get into their 30s, they're like, oh, it's time to be spiritual. And
Yeah.
that's what it seems like to me, because
Yeah.
I mean, it hit me at like 32. So
Yeah. Yeah. I just turned 30 this year. So
there you go.
that, yeah. So
There you
that's
go.
it. So again, like kind of back what you said, like I like we already kind of felt like you said, like a connection, even though we hadn't really talked much.
Hmm.
But I can definitely see like the relation on our kind of life experience. Because I feel very similar. Like I definitely nothing crazy, but trauma, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's I mean, that's how these things find you, and that's how they get stuck to you.
Hmm.
And you know, you get used to it. Like I said, I used that dark goddess for like more creativity, but also it made me more depressed and like all that kind
Yeah.
of stuff. So
Hmm.
um yeah, so it's it's definitely like you said, it's like I think more people have it than we realize.
Yep.
Maybe just lesser or greater degrees. And especially now, just I don't know, the timeline we entered in the last like 6 years or
Yes.
something happened, and there's just a lot more going on, you know, and
Yeah.
it's I've never been like that person, but like there's definitely like a spiritual war, and that's
For
not even like
sure.
on some that's not even on some like spirit shit or like religious thing. It's just like you either get it or you don't, and this is what's happening. Like
Yeah, I
this world
agree.
isn't what we think it is. Like you're not just here to, freaking play video games and like get laid. Like, I mean, by all means go do that, but also like there's so much that we don't understand
Mm. Mm-hmm.
happening, which actually reminds me too of like had I've been having a lot more, I guess, spiritual experiences, and especially through my dreams. I've always
Mm-hmm.
had like very powerful dreams and stuff, like just very weird, like even like prophetic dreams at times. But because I was actually just talking with my cousin about this, but um, basically I was having like this lucid dream, and then I went back and experienced, I believe actually, I want to say I believe just to like leave a door open, but also I'm like very confident. Like I experienced like my past lives,
Mm-hmm.
a couple of them. And then I also had this so during that, which if you want we can get into, I can describe, but during that I was like given this message that my angel wings are broken, and I was been trying to figure out what that means.
Hmm.
Which
Do,
I've yeah.
do you think that like that would mean like your connection to spirit, like creator? Like not like God basically is what I'm saying,
Yeah,
but like
yeah,
not because I don't think the like the biblical God is the actual.
right.
I think that's a little made up, but I do believe in like a higher power. So like
Yeah.
um do you think that might be what that means?
I okay, so I had this other dream where it was again, it was lucid. So similar to, and like I said, I can give you the detail on like the past life thing, but like to
Yeah.
kind of skip ahead to the angel wings. I had this like lucid dream where I was like flying around, and I realized that yes, I fly a lot in my dreams, but I always struggle to fly, which is part of the thing. So even in my dreams, I struggle, full circle. But anyways, um, I had this moment where I realized I was having this lucid dream. So I was like, okay, so my mind is in this very open state where I'm able to kind of connect to things without the resistance of being in the waking world.
Hmm.
And so and every time, once I realize I'm like having a lucid dream, I can take more control of it, but it's only a matter of time before I wake up. So I knew I
Mm.
had to do this like as quickly as possible, not waste any time. So I asked 3 questions. And I asked what how did I ask it? Basically, I asked what is the future of our people here. I asked why what does it mean? Like what is my angel wings are broken? Like what does that mean? And then I asked what was the third question? Why am I blanking all of a sudden? I think I basically asked a question of what is my future personally? So as soon as I asked those questions, because I was like flying up into the air, I was like in like a city, and I looked off into the distance, and everything was like foggy over these like mountains. And then the fog started to clear and become like a city. But then, and so like the distance grew, like the depth of the vision like grew. And this city was like rubble. So there was like rubble piled onto itself, and there was the Statue of Liberty laying on its side. and it was layered together. So it was like multiple layered realities of like a broken down city with the Statue of Liberty, and then like another picture of that opposite. So like facing one way, then facing the other, and then back, and boom, 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 boom. And it was like all these layers of like that image of a broken like civilization with like the Statue of Liberty fallen.
Huh.
And from there I looked off to the side, and I saw, like, I started flying towards it, and I saw these two shadows, and the two shadows had wings, and as they approached, their silhouette, I could tell was one was male and one was female, and I internalized it as like the balance of like my masculine and feminine, and their wings were shredded. So the females was most shredded, especially the left, like hardly anything there. The right one was barely there. The males was, the left one was pretty shredded, and the right one had a little bit more material there. And they were flying together, and they came flying at me and like kind of got close to where I could start making out features. Like it was like a very like, you know, optimal form of like a human male and a human female. And then they turned and like flew away, and I started following them. And then that led me to like this facility where I went inside, and there's all these people running around, and it was like I understood that all these people were all there looking for like similar kind of answers to their life and everything, or the world around us. And there was this guy who was like a janitor, and he like, as he was walking by, he like gave me that look of like, I know you and I know why you're here, with like a slight smirk. And then I ran up to him and I was like, hey, like I need to know like about my future. And like I think maybe more so the question was that like it was like about my ancestry, like my past, as well as like the future. So it was like a weird conjoined question. I can't remember if I could tell you the exact question, that would make more sense. But he ran up and he said, well, you can go that way and learn about your like your girlfriend's heritage line, or you can go that way and learn about yours. And I looked down like that way towards mine, and it was like I didn't know where it was going. And then I looked down this way towards one of my girlfriends, almost like, are you going to join? Which family are you going to join to, or something? That's how I internalized it. So I had moments to decide. He started walking away, and I was like, hey, wait, I know you. What's your name? And then he's like, I'm the guy with no name. And I was like, what? And it was like, I was like, you always tell me that. That's what I told him. Like, you always tell me that. And then he's like shrugged and smirked. And I was like, well, I'm going to call you Juan. And then like, I don't know why. Like, I was just like, I'm calling you Juan from now on. He's like, okay. And then like, I just like took off running and like kind of like run and then go into a glide, like where I'm like floating down this like elaborate like hallway where it's like almost like futuristic, like things are like white. I don't know. And then as I got to the end, and like there was like this door, as I got close to the door got really small, and I had to like hurry up and dive in. And then as I dove in, I started going, went through, and I came out, and there was like these stairs. Again, I'm like, it's like I'm describing like all these mushroom trips. I swear, people, like this. But I'm being clear. One was a mushroom trip, one actually happened, and this is a dream. So anyways, I get to these stairs, and up these stairs is all these washer machines, right? And each washer machine was a family name.
What the fuck?
Yeah. And I could see my girlfriend's family name up there. And so like I was like going for that, and I was trying to get into the washer machine. Weird. But and the closer I got, the heavier my body became, and it got really heavy. And then I had something in my pocket, like it was like I had cards in my pocket, and for some reason I was like, I can't drop these cards. Like it's really important that I don't drop these cards. But I'm wearing like this kind of shorts where the pockets aren't very good. and now I'm like losing like the gravity's like suddenly heavier and like it's hard to move and I'm like tilting over and I'm starting to drop cards and I'm trying to pick them up and I'm trying to hurry up and get into the washing machine and like right as I'm about to go into the washing machine like I wake up.
Oh my
So
God, that sounds so stressful.
I'm glad you get it because it was just like it all made sense in the moment, but like describing it back to you, it's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Who do you have on here?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I mean, I get it. I mean, other
Yeah,
people might.
that's their problem.
Yeah. Yeah, that's your problem. Oh my God, that was like starting to stress me out that right there at the end. I was like, "Oh my God, are you going to get there? What the hell's happening?" And then you wake up, I was like, "Holy fuck, that's even more stressful." I would have
Isn't
been
it
so
right?
pissed off. Been
I
like,
was
put me back in there. Like what I need to
like,
figure this shit out,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
So I don't know what the hell that was, but I don't know. Interpret it for what you will, but at least I got to see my angel wings, I think is what that was.
Yeah.
With seeing the masculine and feminine figures with the shredded wings. So I think
So
that's yeah, go ahead.
if you're connecting that with your feminine and masculine energies, do you think you're more cohesive with your masculine because where the male angel still had like more of a wing where the female like both of her wings were fucked?
Yeah. No, I'm glad you said that because I think that for me, how I have interpreted that was like I feel like I felt most connected to the female side, but it was more damaged. And it's like the masculine is what kind of carries us, her, them through, right?
Mm. Mm-hmm.
So I think that that kind of makes sense too, because like I was raised by my dad. So I had to be a little bit stronger, a little bit more masculine because I, just being like an only child, like
Mm-hmm.
um I had to kind of present that a little bit more throughout my
Mm.
life. And so I think to some degree, yeah, I think it's because like that side needs to carry a little bit more and kind of protect the feminine. Um Even though I felt like the because like the full power comes from
Yeah.
that side. So um yeah, so it's just like really um I don't know, it's just like a really like interesting and kind of powerful experience, especially for like a dream.
Yeah, it
Um,
sounds it.
yeah,
So
yeah.
basically what I get from it is um you really want to be with your girlfriend. that's that's what that whole story like I mean maybe she could be your soulmate, you know what I mean? Kind of thing. That's what it sounds
Yeah.
like to me.
No, I think you're definitely onto something with that because like I do feel that way with her.
Hmm.
And
You
I
feel
feel
like you
like
can 100% be yourself around her and at all
yeah,
times, no matter what. Yeah.
100%. And
Yeah.
so I think that that's probably part of like what it was. Like, if we were to get married, like I'd take her last name.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt like maybe a bit of my interpretation after that was like, and kind of during was like, it's do I want to go that route? Like, do I want to just go back to just going on my own journey, or do I want to like be with her, take that name and follow that family line and become a part of that?
Mm.
And
Yeah.
that's just I was like, yeah, I want that. Like that's where I'm supposed to be. So, but I had the choice. Like I have the choice, right? We all have like a choice. So, yeah, very interesting.
Hmm. Yes. Yes, indeed. Um, so we are pretty much just about at 2.5 hours. of recording.
Perfect.
So, do you have any other stories?
I mean, like I said, like I could discuss like the past life kind of dream, lucid dream thing. I also had like I think it was like an astral experience recently.
Okay.
And then but a quick one I could give was like I seen a UFO.
All right.
So that
Well,
was interesting too. So I definitely have
how
more shit.
all right, let's since because I usually only do 2 hours.
I
I,
make everybody talk extra, so
that's totally fine. I usually talk a little extra. Sometimes I feel like I talk a little bit too much. But so we could probably just schedule a second time. We can get into your UFO and your other stories, and then we can talk shit about some other shit
yeah.
as well. But there was something else I was gonna say. Oh yeah, I usually try and stay around the two, like an hour and a half, 2 hour mark. I almost 100% of the time do not pay attention um until like you were in the middle of your dream story and I just happened to look down in the corner of my screen. I was like, oh shit, yeah.
Yeah. That's
Um
all yeah.
Yeah, so my last 2 episodes ago with Bobby, what is a 3 hour episode, and that only happened because I recorded with him twice because he lost power on his phone, and then I just wasn't like, I mean, he has an amazing mind, and he is
Hmm.
really good conversationalist, so I kind of got lost in it, but anyways, if you just want to tell everybody listening if you have anything that you want them to follow or anything like that, you are welcome to do so.
Yeah, for sure. No, no, it was definitely like a pleasure. It was like really cool to talk to you finally. So I had a good time
Me too.
and
Me too. I was really looking forward to talking to you.
awesome. Yeah, me too. So yeah, it was pretty cool. Like very fun. Like I said, I didn't set out on this journey to be on podcast or anything, but that's where it's going.
Yeah.
So like fuck it. But
Who
yeah, I mean,
knows?
I don't
Maybe your
go ahead.
stories will help. Maybe the things you have to say will help somebody, out there somewhere.
I
You know.
hope so. Yeah, like at the least, like let it be for something. Shit. So yeah, but for sure, no, I appreciate it. So but yeah, Kevin, you're really cool and I appreciate what you're doing. Keep it up. Let's be
Thank you.
weird. And
Thank you.
I don't really have like I do have socials, but I'm not like promoting anything
Okay.
at the moment anyway. So but like if you guys see me on on there or on your post or anything, you can feel free to like follow me that way or whatever. But otherwise, just like shout out Tommy, Let's Get Freaky podcast, and Uncomfortable with Eric. You guys are fucking amazing and I love you. And um, it's because of them that I'm on this journey. So and then I'll shout out JJ Rose 777. You can follow her too. And if you have like spiritual questions, go to her YouTube and she's got a ton of information on there. So she's there to help people. That's what she's doing. She's not trying to be famous. She just has information. So I'll shout out a bunch of other people and then that's it. So that's it.
I think that says a lot about you. I'm not going to promote myself. I'm going to promote my friends, and I think that's an amazing thing. Uh,
Well, I mean, if I had something, I'd just promote myself. But no, I'm just kidding. No, I'm playing. I'm playing. No, I say that because I mean it. Like,
yeah.
I'm just here to connect with like genuine people, be friends, and like, I love the environment. And so, yeah, shout out to them, and shout out to where the weird ones are. Fucking weirdos, let's do
Hey.
this. Hey.
Hey. All right. So, that is the show, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm definitely gonna have Zoe come back for a second time. in the near future. I don't think I have anything to say as a closure for today, but if you want to be featured on the show, it's wheretheweirdonesare at gmail.com. My Instagram's where underscore the weird underscore the weird ones are on Instagram. That's where I'm mostly active. I also have a Facebook. Forget about it all the time, and when I remember it, I post something. So either way, so you can reach me on any of those 3 platforms. And yeah, I don't think I have anything else important to tell all of you guys here for the ending of the show. But if you do follow my Instagram, you'll find Zoey. She's a lovely person, and if you want to talk to her maybe about her experiences, maybe she has something that she can help you with, either just being somebody to talk to. I'm sure she'll be glad to speak with you. So with that, thanks for coming on, Zoey. I really appreciate it. And all of you, have a good day, have a good night, whatever time you decide to listen to this, and stay weird.
Stay weird.
Oh, wow.
This concludes our broadcast day. Click.
Because in the end, none of us have very long on this earth. Life is fleeting. And if you're ever distressed, cast your eyes to the summer sky, when the stars are strung across the velvety night, and when a shooting star streaks through the blackness, turning night into day. Make a wish.